It's the weekend and you have financial questions that need answering. That can only mean one thing. It's time for Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome, welcome. It is the Jill on Money show. We are delighted that you are joining us today. Fantastic. This is the program that attempts to take the mystery out of your financial life. And the way that we can help you out is to have you send us an email. Just send us a note, ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. Don't forget to tell us whether you want to join us on the air. Great news for 2021. The Jill on Money show is sponsored by Facet Wealth. Facet Wealth is kind of cool. It's like financial planning for everyone. Accessible, easy, flat fee, conflict-free, goal-based financial planning. There's no wealth or account minimums. Kind of cool. So if you want to check out Facet Wealth, just go to facetwealth.com. All right, so let's get right into this because, it is about you guys. And as I said, we are inviting you to join us on the air. The reason is I just think it's more fun. I think it's more fun to hear your voices. So first up today is Jason from Washington, D.C. Jason, welcome to Jill on Money. How can we help you out?
Sure. I think after last year, there's a lot of uncertainty in the world in terms of making financial plans for myself. And so I have a few goals and a sort of array of different assets and money sitting in different buckets and wondering how to allocate those most effectively in planning and then also hedging against some of those uncertainties. Mm-hmm. The big thing is I'm a lawyer here in DC, so I have a chunk of student loans standing out there that I don't know, while they're at 0% interest right now, if I should just let them sit, start paying them down in big chunks, create a plan to pay them down, what to do about those. Also, not sure I'm going to stay in the law biz for much longer, potentially. And so if I am going to transition and do something else and maybe travel in the meantime, how to fund myself in the meantime, and then whatever travel I want to do to make sure I can do that as well and have a little bit more of a flexible timeline on that too.
Okay. So how old are you, Jason?
I am 30.
30. Okay. And are you single or partnered?
Single.
Okay. And let's talk about those student loans. Tell me, what is the outstanding student loan balance? And are these federal loans or private loans?
They are federal loans currently in the pandemic forbearance situation, and they are at about $77,000 outstanding.
Okay, I'm just going to breathe a little bit here because that's a big number. You just sort of threw it out there. 77,000. So forbearance is right now until the end of January. I bet that you're going to get more time anyway, because I think that just in general, there's going to be, when the new Department of Education is sort of up and running, they're going to really keep that in place. But that said, you're at 0% right now. Are these 5.5%, 6-ish% loans?
Yeah, I think the average when you put it all together is about 5.9% for that.
Okay. You're still working as a lawyer, right?
Correct. Yes.
How much are you earning?
About $220 a year gross.
Oh, I love that number. I wish you'd like your job more. And on 220, you were able to knock down the debt. Is that what was happening for you?
Yeah, I would just, whenever I could, throw any extra money at them and paid down a pretty significant portion already.
Okay. And how much money do you have saved? Are you participating in the law firms? I didn't ask. I'm sorry. You work at a firm or for an organization right now?
Law firm, yes.
And they have a 401k?
They do, yes.
And you participate in that?
I do.
How much money's in the 401k right now?
There is about $71,000 in the firm's 401k. I also have about $9,000 in an old 401k sitting out there.
Okay. Any other retirement assets? Any other, old things kicking around? A Roth IRA maybe, or anything like that?
Nothing like that. I do have about $8,000 in an HSA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. That's good. And what about just savings, boring emergency reserve?
So that's where I'm hoping you can help with, because I've been funneling all my extra income from the last couple months into that rather than putting them towards my loan. So I have about 75,000 in short-term savings.
That's great. Now, I don't want you. You know what Mark said to me? He sends me your email and he says to me, get ready to crush someone's dream. And he started calling me the dream crusher. So I don't want you to get upset about that, because I want to try to help you get where you want to go, but I want you to do it efficiently and smart ways. Okay. So you say you may not want to be a lawyer. I mean, do you despise this? No matter what I say, could you stay for another year? Could you tell me a little bit about this idea of taking time off and where you stand on that?
I think a year would be pushing it. I could do, is 6 to 9 months doable? I think there's a path to maybe something like that.
Okay.
I think it's just more long term. I'm eventually going to need. It's going to happen sooner or later, right? Whether it's in 6 months, a year, somewhere down the line.
I mean, I don't know what your next thing is, and if you have an idea about what you think your next career might be, but I certainly would rather make a transition not in the heat of a pandemic, where the labor market is shifting around like crazy. Do you have an idea about what you think you might want to do next?
Not especially, no. I'm very aware that the cash flow will go down, right? Whatever it is, it will probably be making at least a little bit less than I am now.
Okay. So let's talk about this time off and what you think you're going to need to, so of the 75 grand in cash, how much of that would be allocated to time off, pay for everything, trip, blah, blah, blah? What amount of money are you thinking it would take?
I would say it'd probably be about 15 to 20,000 of that for the actual time off travel around.
Uh-huh.
And then I've also have about, I've estimated it's like a back to life sort of line item in my planning of about 30 to 40,000 for that. So all in, you're looking at anywhere from probably like 40 to 45 to 60,000 would be is just what I'm guessing right now. I have no idea if that's super low, super high.
And when you say back to what you mean, that's what you want to keep in reserve as you go, then come back and say, I need to get a job, I've got to pay my expenses, et cetera, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, gotcha. So, I mean, there's not a lot of money to spend on anything else then. How much are you saving in this account on a monthly basis?
I'm putting in about $1,000 from paychecks and probably about $4,000 just in extra cash that I end up having.
Not on a monthly. You mean $5,000 a month or just?
Yeah, about $5,000 a month.
And are you maxing out your retirement account, your 401k?
I am, yes.
You're really married to this idea. I'm not going to, in other words, I am not going to convince you not to do this, right? It's just a question of the timing.
Right. Yeah. It's the, do I need a longer runway? Do I need to?
Yes.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
I'd love to do it tomorrow, but realize that a little bit of planning can go a long way.
Okay. Can Jason do this? Can he not? Can he leave his career after sinking his time and his money into it? You're just going to have to wait. When we return, we'll actually answer whether I am going to pop his bubble, kill his dream, or whether he can do it. You'll just have to stay tuned. Jill on Money will be right back.
Follow Jill on Twitter and Instagram for more personal finance content. Just use the handle @JillOnMoney. Now, back to the show.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. And you may have noticed that sometimes we sound really like we're in a studio, but we're not. It's the magic of technology. This was all us actually going on prior to COVID, but Mark had figured out a brilliant way for us to make the adjustment in order to broadcast so he could take care of his child. And I didn't have to stick around the broadcast center so long. So we are broadcasting from the Capital One Bank studios. It's the Capital One Bank virtual studios. Capital One, this is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet? I should have mentioned that this is a weekend where you probably have a lot to do cleaning up your financial life because there's no football. So we're very sorry for any fans of the Packers and the Bills. Everyone knows I was in the tank for Buffalo. Hat tip to WBEN in Buffalo. Love your station. But whatever, what are you going to do? We got to move on. So, Mark, do we need to put any sort of wager down? What are you thinking about this game? Mark's hoping for Kansas City. I, too, am hoping for Kansas City. I think that Brady has enough. Maybe Mahomes will actually beat the record of Brady. I don't know. He is young, though. Also, great recommendation, Mark. The Tiger Woods documentary on HBO talking about breaking streaks. That was good. That was really, really good. I'd point that out to any of you who can weigh in with any of your streaming recommendations. We would love to field them, and we'd love to field your financial questions. So if you have a financial question, just send us an email. Let us know if you would be willing to join us on the air, because that is way more fun for everyone, and you're going to get more out of the experience. So we're going to go back to Jason in Washington, D.C., who wants to blow up his life as a lawyer. Can he do it? Well, here's my answer. Here's what I'm going to suggest to you. First of all, I mean, I know it may not be your dream job, but I think that for a couple of things you have to really take into account. Number one is that you've got to stockpile more cash. You just must. And so that to me is arguing for like this should be maybe end of 2021, but really it's probably if I could wave my magic wand, the Jill Schlesinger wand over you, I would say take this 2021, this year, as a transition year. And the transition year means you've got to have way more money building up in cash, way more money. And the reason is that I don't know how long this forbearance is going to last. And I don't know, let's assume that you have forbearance this whole year. What you may be able to do is knock down the student loans as forbearance is expiring and get rid of a bunch of that so that you can go off on your trip and not have to worry about your student loans. But I don't know what that's going to be. And we're going to have a lot more information about that in the next, 3 to 6 months. The bigger issue is if you can save $5,000 a month, you're just going to put yourself in a far better financial shape to make this leap. And I think that you're probably looking at a period of time where, if you give yourself a longer runway, it will make the transition a lot more seamless. In this time also, if you're really thinking about it, I think you should have an idea of what you think you want to do next. And if this is the year where you say, I'm going to be like Shonda Rhimes, it's the year of yes. So yes, you can maybe do this, but I want you to wait to do it until you have a better idea, because obviously making $180,000 a year in your next career is a lot different than making $85,000 a year, right? And we've just got to try to figure out for you what you think that next thing is. And it would behoove you to use this time to give yourself some flexibility. And I think that would make more sense to you. So do you think you could get on board with that?
Yes, I think that something like that could work.
The reason I want to put this in a broader, what am I doing next, is that I think, like I said, I think that, if I knew that you were going to be working, in-house at a nonprofit, and I'm making this up, and that, you knew that those kinds of jobs would pay you $150,000 a year, I might not feel as anxious as I feel right now, wondering what's next. And, like I said, I think that doing this during a pandemic is really difficult. And more importantly, you're going to travel during the middle of a pandemic. I'm going to go full on Jewish mother on you. You can't do this. Come on.
Well, no. Yeah. And obviously that part would wait until it's safe to do so. There's a lot of uncertainty here, a lot of, play in the joint on when each of these things is happening. And
exactly.
So some of it is then, what do I do with, if I am going to have this bucket of cash, is there something I should be doing with it in the meantime? Or?
Well, I mean, look, I would be paying down some of my student loan debt. because I think that when it does ramp back up, it is 6%. You don't have to do it right now. And again, I think we'll know more information. If you knew that, you have all of this year at 0%, there's not a real reason, any big reason to pay it off right this second, right? But you can start paying off principal a little bit, but I want to really give you as much liquidity as possible, because maybe the last thing you do before you walk on your plane to South Africa is you send a check to the federal student loans and say, here's $77,000, goodbye. I mean, it really does depend on what comes next and what the rules are. I wouldn't want you to take all of the liquidity that you've socked away and pay off that debt, leaving you without liquidity. That's why I said to you, if the trip is 20 and you need sort of 40-ish, let's call it, for, reentry to get you back in, maybe it's really if you need 50. So which is like maybe all the cash you have right now is cash you must keep on hand. I wouldn't want you to spend that money down on your student loans just yet. So I think that if you have this whole year ahead of you and we know what the rules are going to be around forbearance for student loans, that might be much more helpful to you. And think of this. I know that you're probably saying like, oh, I'm getting 0% in my cash account. I get it. Right now, that is just the price you're paying for easy access and liquidity. You could put it in a higher interest money market or a higher yielding savings account. But truly, I think it would be very much in your best interest to think of that as I am paying a price to have safety. That's all it is. Okay?
Gotcha.
The old retirement account, is there any reason that you should move your old retirement account into your current retirement account just to make your management easier?
Not really, no. And I think then I could also do a Roth conversion.
Exactly.
To fund it this year at some point.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. So why don't we roll the old one into your current 401k? And will you promise me to do one thing, Jason? Will you call me back before you actually decide like when you're going off on this great adventure so that we can talk a little bit about like where things stand?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. I encourage you to do that. Everyone's going to want to hear where you're going. So this is going to be interesting. I think the game plan of 2021 is your year of transition. Get yourself set, get yourself ready. You may be booking your trip in the fourth quarter of this year. I'm not saying you're not going to do that. I'm just saying this is the time to really concentrate on building up my cash and making sure that I'm at least thinking about other ideas. And, maybe the best idea, they always say it's the easiest time to find a job is when you have one, is to just talk to other people who do cool stuff and say, tell me more about what you do. Maybe that's an idea that's worth pursuing, right? So just like maybe once a week, make it a priority to talk to someone in a different industry and like interview them, be curious and see if there's something that jingles and jangles and makes you excited. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that's it. Any other questions for me before I crush your dream further?
No. And I think at least a little bit of my dream has survived. So thanks for sharing a little smidge of it.
All right, good. Jill Schlesinger, dream crusher extraordinaire. I apologize. But anyway, I wish you the best of luck. And I thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
If you're considering a career change, maybe like Jason, you should give us a holler before you start doing it. Jason's planning. We're trying to delay his dream for about a year, but that's the way to do it, to plan for it. So if you would like some advice around that, give us a holler. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. We'll be right back.
If you've missed any part of the show or want to check out a past show, go to JillOnMoney.com for more great personal finance content.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. Do you have a question that is burning, a financial question? We would like to hear from you. All you need to do is to just send us a note. It's Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. That's what Tony did. He is on the line from Buffalo. Tony, what can we do for you?
I'm 45, soon to be 46. My wife is a few years younger, 44. We have two children. We are looking to build our quote unquote dream home. The situation is we currently own our home. We are debt free. We make about 125-ish. We put about 26% of our income towards retirement. That's Roth. We own our own business, so we participate in a simple IRA, and we're contributing to our children's 529 plans.
All right. That sounds good.
We are looking to build a home. When everything's all said and done, we're looking at about $525,000 with putting down about $300,000. That includes the proceeds from the sale of our home. My wife's parents are generously giving us some money towards that home. So we're looking at probably a final mortgage of about $225,000.
Okay, wait, let me ask you one question. How much is your current home worth that's debt free?
According to Zillow, it's like 279,000. If we got 250 out of it, I'd be more than happy.
And so her folks are going to shell out another 50 to help you out just to get you to that 300 down?
Probably more like 100.
I mean, why do you, I don't mean to be daft about this, but why do you need them to help you out? Because you've got, if you put 250 down and you finance the rest, you'd be fine. So what's driving you? I mean, I don't want to get into your family. I just always get nervous when there's like the in-laws are helping and then there's like a little string attached maybe. I don't know. Why get their help if you don't really, it doesn't seem like you need it.
We don't need help. They want to give us this. They realize that as they're older, that they don't have much time left. And this is something that we never asked for, solicited. They just said, this is what we want to do. We want to see you guys happy while we still have time here. Mm-hmm. If that doesn't sound too morbid.
Listen, how old are they?
Mid to late 70s.
Okay. And they got plenty of dough. They can totally do this, right?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, you're debt free on this house and you're young. So I'm hearing between the story that you're telling this sort of underlying theme, which is Tony does not like mortgage debt. Is that correct?
That is correct.
What about your wife? How does she feel? Is she a little bit more reasonable, or am I going to have to fight with both of you?
You're going to have to fight with her. The home is our dream home. She's driving the dream. I would be just as happy living in our house the way it is, but I would like a new house, but I don't need a new house.
Okay. So obviously, it sounds to me like you can afford this. You're going to have a payment, but you're running the numbers. I guess I'm wondering if you shouldn't just get a 30-year fixed rate mortgage and you do it yourselves, and then essentially have your in-laws, instead of putting money into the house, maybe we should just have them dump some money in the 529 plan so you don't have to worry about that. Have they ever considered that as a possibility?
They've already have done that on their own. So
okay.
Part of their estate planning, they've set aside money for the grandchildren and things like that. So they've already essentially given us the money. You know, we could do with it whatever we choose. It does not have to go to the home. They said it's ours to do with what we'd like to do.
Okay. How old are your kids?
Soon to be 10 and 7.
So between what you've put into the 529s and what your in-laws have set aside, do you think you'll have to add a lot more to the kitty to get college paid for, I guess?
With what I've read of what college could potentially cost, we could always add more.
Okay. Is your question like, why do I even have to have a mortgage?
My question is, should we do a 30 or a 15? My concern is I'm 46. I don't want to work, quote unquote, until I'm 76 to pay off this home.
You won't. I mean, look, I think 30 is better until you get the kids through college. And then all the money that you're going to throw towards college and all the money, you know, just give yourself flexibility. Here's my guess is that 10 years from now, when your oldest is, you know, in college and your little one is about to start college, you'll have a lot more information. You know, the first 10, 12 years of the mortgage is obviously the part that's interest heavy. You're probably screwed because you are a New York resident. And so you're probably getting your itemized deductions and you're getting capped. So that's not great. But I think the flexibility is a real key. And my guess is that, you're not going to have a mortgage for 30 years. You're going to have 10 years where you have good flexibility. You can put some money into the 529 plan if you want to. You can maybe if you had, you said you own your own business. So, a good year, a bad year, you'll see how things go. You'll have a lot more information in 10 years. And frankly, probably at that time, you can crank it and just pay down the mortgage if you want later. Money's so cheap right now. It's just not a great decision to accelerate things just yet. And I think that even, look, tax law could change as well. So, I would much rather have a flexible 10, 12 years ahead of me. Kids go to college, whole different ballgame, right? Now you're going to have a lot of free cash flow. You can always pay that thing down faster. As this is all going on, you're saving more money. So I think that a 30-year is really preferable. Let's talk. If things change, and you have a huge windfall, look, if you stepped in it and all of a sudden you had like tons and tons and tons of cash flow, like the business is going nuts, and 6 years from now, you get back to me and you say, hey, guess what? Like, I'm done with this thing. Then fine, you can pay it off. But at least you have the flexibility to make that. All right.
My wife will be more than happy to hear this.
I know, right? All right. So good luck. Send us a picture of your dream house when it's built, or at least the land is developed, and let us know if there's anything else we can do for you. Okay, Tony?
Jill, thank you so much. I love what you guys do there. Keep doing great things.
Okay, when we return, we're going to get to more of your questions. Hey, during the break, go check out the website, JillOnMoney.com. You can listen to past shows, or maybe if you missed any part of this one, and you can always sign up for our free weekly newsletter. Comes out every Friday. Mark does a great job with that. So check it out at JillOnMoney.com, the free weekly newsletter there for you. We'll be right back.
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, she's all over the place. Go to JillOnMoney.com to find it all. Now back to the show with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, the program that attempts to take the mystery out of your financial life. I'm Jill Schlesinger. I am joined by Mark Talercio, the best executive producer in the land. We are both CFPs, which means we did pass that really hard test. It also means that we tend to take a broader approach to your financial lives. We're not practicing CFPs. We're not taking clients or anything. That's a very hard business, which I did do at one point in my life. But I do think it's important for us to really make sure that we try to disentangle some of the questions that you have and try to make it easier for you. And some of you may know that we actually have a YouTube channel. And what's really been interesting is to see some of the comments. So I just thought I would do some of the comments. If we want to follow us on YouTube, do they get everything if they're on YouTube, Mark? Like the TV segments, the radio, the podcast, they get everything? What's on there? I forgot. I guess all of Jill on Money is on YouTube, although the Jill on Money logo looks kind of stretched out on my screen. I don't know if that happens for everyone else. Anyway, Eric wrote this, and he said that his wife is a manager at a big company, 30 years now. Her 401k, she's contributing 10%. We are considered bumping up the number while stock prices are down. She's nervous about losing more of her retirement money. Any suggestions? Hey, gang, once and for all, I know that this is a toughie, but we really have to stop thinking we can time the market, because you can't. You just can't. So what I really would prefer people to do is to say, here's what my retirement goal is. Here's how old I am. Here's the risk I can take, and work backwards. And if you need help with that working backwards process, then shoot us an email. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. All right, some dude writes in. Here we go. These are the comments with like the angry people. Here is both Bruce and another guy named Godwin. So we had someone who was talking about their retirement. They had almost $2 million. And so, Godwin's like, someone with 1.9 million wondering if they can retire? Yes. Yes. Imagine that. And Bruce D says, oh, another millionaire drama. I wish we could hear about the average person. Are you not listening to the show, Bruce? We have plenty of average people. And he says, most people do not have over $1 million, so this is not relevant. So, Bruce, guess what? Call us. Contact us. Why don't you share your situation? But for everyone who does that, I just find this so annoying because I don't judge people who have no money and I don't judge people who have a lot of money. Everyone's got financial concerns. And if anything, do you do this in the gym? Do you be like, oh, why does he have a trainer? He's in such great shape. Do you say that? Do you say, oh, you know what? She's so skinny. Why does she care what she puts in her mouth? Well, maybe she got that way because she does care. And maybe she has questions. And maybe she has different issues. And maybe it's still anxiety provoking. Why are we judging this? Why are we judging this? I don't know this other person who's 49 years old, no kids, 600 grand in a tax deferred account, 130 in taxable, 2 homes, no debt. I think what they're asking is selling one property for 600 grand. I don't know what they want to know. So if you're going to comment on the YouTube channel, here's what I'd love for you to do. If you're listening to this on YouTube, send an email and tell us all of your background and tell us what's on your mind. And for those of you who are angry about people who don't get on, we're literally responding to the questions we receive. Some of them are from rich people. Some of them are from median household incomes of, 50, 60, 80,000. And some are from people who don't have any money. If you have a question, ask it. And don't complain about someone else's situation. Don't complain that because this kind of reminds me, Mark, of the time of my life when people would say to me, oh, you know what? It's their fault because they're so irresponsible with their money. Why do you give them any advice at all? I'm not into that. No judgment here. This is a judgment-free zone, except when I think you're being judgy and then I'm judging you for being judgmental. Does that make sense? Really? Come on now, gang. We really want to try to make this a place where anyone can get their financial questions answered, whether you have money, whether you don't have money. And if you care to take the time to write us, we're going to get you on the air as much as we can. And if you want to hear more people who have a situation that is like yours, then why don't you start? You start the process by being that person. You be the change. Clarence writes, can you recommend a fund for my 97-year-old mother? 600 grand in cash as part of her portfolio. Based on her situation, she has $450,000 to invest. Really? What index funds mimic the Dow Jones or other indexes? Look forward to your recommendations. I don't know, 97 investing? I'm a little nervous. I need to know more, but if you really just want cheap index funds, you can get a Vanguard Extended Stock Market Index, which will give you a broad smattering. But are you sure that she has that much money to put to work at 97? Is she investing for you, for grandchildren? I'm a little worried. My 97-year-old mother-in-law, who, by the way, has COVID, I have to say, so she's doing okay. Thanks for everybody checking in. I would only put 15, maybe 20% of her money into stocks. So unless there's a lot more money that's available, I really would want to hear more. So can you follow up with me? I'd really appreciate it. All right. It's Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question or you want to take issue with something, just send us an email. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. If you're on the website, jillonmoney.com, hit the contact button. We'll get that note as well. Jill on Money will be right back. You're back. It's Jill on Money, and we are here to try to make the world of investing and managing your financial life a little easier. The way we do that is we encourage you to ask questions. You can send us an email. You can go to the website. You can comment. I I guess we get some people who comment via Twitter. Mark really does manage that whole process, and YouTube. If you missed my rant earlier in the program, you can go to YouTube and listen to the program, or you can go to our website. Okay. Eric writes, I am a fan of your show and grateful for your expertise and your generous spirit. 2 questions. Do you think it's likely that the required minimum distribution on IRAs will be waived again this year due to COVID fallout? Answer, I do not think so. I don't think that's going to happen. And there was no talk about that in the Biden proposal. So I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen. And not that many people took advantage of it. So that's also interesting. So in terms of most people, like Ed Slott, who was our guest recently on our podcast, said that most people still took their required minimum distributions because they needed it to live on. So there you have that. Okay, second question from Eric. I'm happy with my brokerage account at Schwab. It's self-managed, and I'm wondering if I should find a certified financial planner through Schwab, or would it be more prudent to find an independent CFP? Many thanks and best for 2021. You know what, Eric? I don't know if you need a CFP or not. You didn't tell us some of the details of your life. If you like Schwab, that's fine. You can get some names of certified financial planners who clear through Charles Schwab. Or if you think that you just want someone to give you a broad-based review, you could certainly go to the CFP website or the NAPFA website, the National Association of Personal Financial Advisors. Or you can, of course, check out our sponsor, Facet Wealth. But I need to know more of what's going on in your financial life before kind of weighing in on what type of advisor that you might need or whether you need one at all. So maybe follow up and give us a few more details. Okay, it's Jill on Money. We're going to go to a break, and we got a whole nother hour of fun ahead of us. Isn't that great? Jill on Money will be right back.
It's the weekend, and that can only mean one thing. You're listening to Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and we are in the second hour. Yes. You know, we always talk about some of the things that we've been streaming that we really like. This program on Netflix, Lupin, the fun French, I would call it like sort of, it's not a thriller. It's just sort of a, how would you describe it, Mark? It's like a mystery, but it's lovely. And if you really are pining to see a little bit of Paris, it's fantastic. Send us your recommendations. God knows, we are sort of after the Super Bowl. I mean, I guess I got hockey season, but still, even that, I can't watch as much of that. So we need your recommendations. Send them to us immediately. This is the program. And it doesn't have to be financial in nature. You know that much. We are here to take the mystery out of your financial life. And we are sponsored by Facet Wealth. And we're going to have the chief evangelist of Facet Wealth, Brent Weiss. He's going to be back on the show soon. We're going to do some fun stuff for February. Some maybe relationship financial planning with Brent, who I think is a confirmed bachelor. I'm not sure he has a significant other. I'll have to ask him about that. Facet Wealth, many of you have heard me talk about this because I interviewed them. I was interested in their model. This is a financial planning group that makes the planning process accessible to everyone. Really, doesn't matter how much money you have. They charge flat fees, and it is from CFPs. So that's kind of cool. And you get a dedicated advisor, which I like. And they don't have any wealth or account minimums. Many of you have complained that a lot of financial advisors do. So Facet doesn't. They meet you where you are. So if you want more information, go to facetwealth.com. Okay, now on to more of your questions. This is a message from Anonymous. Anonymous writes, subject, do we need a financial planner? See, I didn't even know that, Mark. It's amazing. Okay, here we go. Hi, Jill. Thanks so much for being generous with your time and expertise. For the past 5 years, my husband and I have used a financial planner. His fee is 0.77% of assets under management, which is, I don't know why, like it's not 0.75, not one, got to be 0.77. A little weird. Okay. So at this point, this includes, there's a lot of money, $3.5 million from the husband's rollover IRA and 615,000 in a non-tax deferred trust. Money from a recent house sale. So let's just say they got $4 million bucks. I feel like that's expensive. Yeah, here, cue the hate mail is right. Don't complain about this. Let's just talk about this. This is somebody who's being charged a lot of money for a service. Forget about the numbers for a second, okay? They're just asking the general idea here. Other assets, 1.4 million in a 401k. And husband's 401k, 350 grand. Then another 675 in mutual funds and 100 grand in money market. So eyeballing that, there's like about $2.5 million beyond the 4 in the account that the guy's managing. Only debt is a mortgage on their condo, 740 grand. Both are still working. My husband is a physician, but has been cutting back for the past few years. Currently, he is some sort of full-time employee. He made 160 grand last year. I'm a nurse practitioner on, I guess, 3/4 time. I made 120 grand. I'm 67. My husband's 66. Before the pandemic, we were planning on retiring when we were 70, but we have been working very hard with the pandemic. We may retire sooner at this point. No kidding. I don't even know how you've lasted this long through this whole thing. Thank you for doing that. We're not going to draw on Social Security until we're 70. My son is a businessman and believes that our financial situation does not warrant spending the money for financial planning. Including the fees, investments with the planner have been slightly less profitable than the mutual funds we're managing ourselves. We've been hanging on to them because we may retire sooner than originally planned. Does the complexity of the decision process to withdraw money warrant a financial planner as we consider tax efficiency? Or maybe could we do this on our own? All right. The son is 32. He got his MBA from Northwestern a few years ago. He's offered to teach us the basics. So I guess here's the question. The question is, do they need a financial planner or not? What do you think, Mark? I'm leaning towards they don't need a planner per se. They certainly don't need an asset manager. They got a ton of money. They didn't tell us how much money they spend, but they've accumulated all this money. So there's no way they spend a ton of money. So let's presume that they have plenty of money that will last throughout their retirement. Do I think that it is worth it to pay 0.77% to get a strategy together for withdrawals? No, I don't. Do I think your son should do it? No, I don't. So now we need to have a conversation about what's the middle ground. And the middle ground may be that you go seek the advice of, for one time only, of a retirement planning strategy. And that could be really helpful. I think that in your case, that you got a lot of assets. I'm sure that there is there is certainly a rhyme and reason as to the best way to withdraw assets and be tax efficient. And that is worth something. Is that worth more than 0.75% every year? I doubt it. So what are the options? Here are the options. Number one is you could do it yourself. And with your 32-year-old son teaching you along the way, I don't know. 2, you can go hire someone to create a standalone retirement plan for you. And in doing that, you would go to maybe NAPFA, National Association of Personal Financial Advisors, and napfa.org. You could go to the CFP website, letsmakeaplan.org. You could try our sponsor, facetwealth.com, or you could use one of the myriad of websites out there just to start running calculations. But I think what you really want is a withdrawal strategy. And I think you can pay for that one time. And that one time would be really helpful. The only way that I would continue with the current is if they really made an effort to do the financial planning you need and to reduce the fee. That's it. But other than that, I don't think it's really worth it. So Let us know if there's something else that we're missing. It sounds like you have your estate planning done. Again, I would be careful about the kid. I know the kid, you love the kid's smart. Let's not get involved with that right now. Okay? I've seen a lot of disasters when that's the game plan. Unless your kid is actually in the business, and then that's different. Okay? Um, Great respect for the Northwestern School of Business. I think that's called Kellogg. So, but that doesn't mean they know how to do financial planning. See if we can get you a plan together that's a one-time only planning fee that then you that take over the management of your assets and see if that might work for you. Okay? All right. You're listening to Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, send us an email. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. Did you know that we have a sister broadcast? It's a podcast. It's called Jill on Money. You can go to our website, jillonmoney.com. Right on the front door, you'll see ways to subscribe to it. We'd love for you to come on board. It's a daily show every single day, 7 days a week. Kind of like this show, but shorter. Okay, we'll be right back.
Follow Jill on Twitter and Instagram for more personal finance content. Just use the handle @JillOnMoney. Now, back to the show.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. If you have a financial question, we'd love to hear from you. Our email address is askjill@jillonmoney.com. And go over to the website to jillonmoney.com. We have all sorts of great stuff there. But specifically, one of the things that I love that has developed since the pandemic is we added a new vertical to the website. So when you go across the top and it says search, watch, read, listen, there's also the furry fan club. And if you go there, you can maybe send us a picture of your little furry fan of Jill on Money. So send us a picture of your little creature. We'd love to put him or her up. Your gender non-specific dog or cat or whatever. Okay, let's go and take a voice of reason here. We are going to weigh in on a sisterly debate. Next up, it's Kim. Kim's not her real name. Shh, don't tell anyone. She is on the line. She is calling from New York, not even calling, just connecting from New York. Kim, welcome to the Jill on Money show. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
How do you feel with your alter ego right now?
It's like trying on a new hat. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. I gave you these names, by the way, because you have a question for you and your sister. So I was able to basically use me and my sister as your name. So you're Kim, which is like my sister. And we'll talk about your sister, quote unquote, Jill.
Yes.
Get it? So tell me what's going on for the sisters in New York.
Sure. So we're having a debate. It's kind of funny. Both of us are in full-time jobs and we make almost the exact same salary, which is around $200K a year. We totally intend to max out each of our 401ks, but I believe that we should put most of our savings into, or I should put most of my savings into a Roth 401k because I think the tax savings I'm going to get, like basically knocking my salary down $20,000, isn't going to make that much of a difference. Mm-hmm. But she thinks that it's better to do like a traditional 401k under the assumption that, her income might be lower at retirement. So who's right?
This is a great question. It's like the sister slam.
Yeah.
Okay. So based on tax brackets, you're both single, right?
Yes. Well, okay. Actually, I have a partner and we are talking about getting married. So she's single. I'm in a slightly different situation, but as of right now, we would be filing individually.
Okay, so let's do the individual first, and then we can talk a little bit about, sort of the theory behind this. So as individuals, you both are facing the top tax bracket of 32%. Of course, it's not on all of your income, but I presume that your sister is sort of saying to herself, well, if I could knock that 20 grand off the top of my income, that 20 grand would be taxed at the 32% bracket. So why not pull it back and not avoid that taxation, which is certainly a reasonable idea here. Okay. So there's no doubt about that. In your case, of course, you're saying, I'll pay my 32% right now because I don't know what the future is going to bring. And I want to know that I've locked in my tax liability. You're kind of both right. 32% is a real tax bracket. So it's not as if you're like, oh, I'm paying it the 22%. But let me ask you a couple of follow-up questions. For example, you each make about 200. Do you think for each of you, let's talk about you first. Do you suspect that your income will rise over the course of your career?
I think it could a little bit more. I'm not expecting like massive gains, but I think it could.
Okay. And how old are you, Kim?
I'm 47.
And how old is she? How's Sister Jill?
Sister Jill is 44.
Okay. All right. So, here's the thing. I don't know where tax rates are going. All right. This is the real quintessential question, because if you think that her income would rise substantially, you're sort of in your like peak earning years for the next 10, 15 years, right? Now, it is probably likely that you'll make more money just because everyone gets these inflation bumps anyway, right? So people do make more money. But if you're in a career where you think that things are going to accelerate dramatically in the future, then that's a really good argument to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to actually pay my tax today because I'm probably going to see a higher tax rate later. The other aspect of this is, well, where do we think taxes are going in general? And that's really the key here. You both live in New York, so you're in a high tax state and you're in a high tax city. So you pay a lot of taxes. There's no doubt about it. My question is, and we put it out to the ether when we say, where do we really think taxes are going? I think they're going higher. I really do err on the side of what you are considering because I believe that it won't be 32% tax bracket. It'll probably be the 35, maybe the 39.6 again. I think that you could actually see higher tax rates later. The other part of this is how much money right now, let's just do each of you. How much money do you have in retirement accounts currently? So let's do you first. How much in retirement, pre-tax retirement?
Pre-tax retirement, I have about, I want to say 250, almost 300 in pre-tax.
Okay. And then what do you have in Roth?
I have a traditional Roth IRA that I started a long time ago, 53,000. Mm-hmm. And then just in terms of like what I have in my employer right now, probably around like 20,000.
Okay, great. You're putting in the max, so that's great. And what is your sister basically have a similar amount of money, but all in traditional?
Hers is all in traditional and she's around 211K.
Okay, so here's the thing. One part of this, one way to kind of bridge the gap between the two of you, I tend to want to know what my tax liability is going to be. So I am more in your camp. I would rather say, whatever I have, I know it's already been taxed. I don't have to worry about it. If tax rates go up dramatically in the next 20 years, I'm all set. I've paid my tax. If they don't, well, you know what? I was probably going to pay about that tax anyway. And for both of you, what you need to know is that when you have money in these pre-tax accounts, you are forced to take that money out when you turn 72. That's the rule now. And that's going to, just so she knows, and she's going to listen to this, 20 years from now, 25 years from now, that money that she has, that 211,000, could be a lot more money, could be $1 million. She's going to be forced to take that money out of that traditional account. That's going to add to her taxable income. That's going to mean she's going to be actually paying tax on a chunk of money every single year. So the idea that, I'm going to be in a much lower tax bracket may not be the case, and she is going to have to take that money out. Maybe one way that she could get through this, I would encourage her to say, hey, you know what, Jill, Sister Jill, this is your Sister Jill talking. What about if she split the difference? What about if she said, I'll take half my money and I'll put it in the traditional, put the half in the Roth? Because really what you want to do is you want to minimize the amount of required distributions you have to take when you do retire. Now, I'm going to say one other thing. You're both in like prime earning years. Any other money that's saved for either of you guys in non-retirement accounts?
Yeah, we both have cash savings as well.
All right.
So yeah, she's got about 100,000 in cash, and I've got about 70 right now in like bank, and then another 25 in a robo advisory cash account. And I do have some stock.
Really?
Yeah, around
Look at
50.
you guys are players.
Yes, 50,000 in stock.
Why do you do that? Just for fun?
For fun, I basically will take like $1,000 here and there, and then just bet on something for the heck of it, and then I don't take it out. I usually just hold. So.
Okay, so what's been your best trade over the last couple of years? Like, what's been your best investment that you've made?
Oh, Netflix by far.
When did you do that? That's exciting.
I did that around 2008 when they were like raising their price by $5, and people thought the company was going to tank, and I knew it wasn't. I was like, "There's no way." So.
That's a great trade. What's your worst trade of the last couple of years?
Probably Whole Foods, maybe.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. I like it. Thank you very much for giving us a shout. We love hearing other voices, so it's been great.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks so much to Kim for joining us. And if you would like to come on the air with us live, all you have to do is send us an email, ask Jill at jillonmoney.com, or when you're on the website, hit the contact button, tell us what your question is, and be sure to say, "I'd love to come on the air with you." That's all we need. Mark will do the rest. Okay, we'll be right back.
If you've missed any part of the show or want to check out a past show, go to jillonmoney.com for more great personal finance content.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. And we are broadcasting from the Capital One Bank virtual studios. Capital One, this is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet? These days, Mark, I don't think much is in people's wallets because I think everybody is completely freaked out about cash. Are you still a cash proponent in your own life? I have the old school, like I always like to have a couple $100 on me. Mark says he's had $35 in his wallet for the past couple of months and it hasn't moved. I know. I always got to have a couple $100 in my wallet. So if anyone chooses to mug me in New York, that they are satisfied with their take. They don't want to go any further than my wallet. Okay. Anonymous has written to us. Yeah, that same old Anonymous. It's a question about taking early Social Security. Oh, this is fun. Anonymous says, I found your podcast, which is our daily podcast, because of the interviews you did with Christine Dercole. As an avid Peloton rider, I found and enjoyed them, and I like the fact that each podcast episode is fast and to the point. So this is a radio show, but we also have a podcast. And so if you want to be part of that podcast world, all you have to do is go to our website, jillonmoney.com. And there on the very front door, we have a little information about the podcast. But if you want right now, maybe you're listening to this on YouTube or you're listening to this in the car, say to your mate, whoever's driving, go to Apple or Google or Stitcher or Spotify or radio.com, wherever you find your favorite podcast, and search for Jill on Money. Okay. Now, next, Anonymous says, question is about taking early Social Security. I keep hearing people say that it's better to wait until 67 so you get the full benefit. If you can or will work until 67, I understand that delaying can be good, assuming you don't need the money. But I am considering stopping at 62. I will be 58 in May of this year. I'm fortunate to have enough assets to potentially do this outside of Social Security. But specifically to Social Security, I looked on the website, and the early payment would be $2,300 a month. Full payment at my full retirement age, 67, would be $3,300 per month. My questions. Are Social Security payments taxed or are they tax-free? Googling it implies they could be taxed. They are taxed over a certain amount, and you're going to be taxed on yours. Okay, let me just do this quick math so that we don't have to go through this with Anonymous. Essentially, whatever you think you are doing with Social Security, it is all a race about breaking even, meaning if you live to a certain time. And so Anonymous says, I think I break even at 78 and a half, which is true. This is true, true, true. So if you live long enough to make it worth your while, then it makes sense to delay your benefit until the full retirement age. And that's about 78 for men. That amount, the amount you receive on an ongoing basis, will far outweigh what you would have for the 5 years you took it early. Okay. So now, what is the reason to take it early versus delay? Number one is maybe you don't even care. Okay. You can take Social Security early, but there are other issues. Certainly having that money available to you to do stuff and invest is fine, but waiting to receive it helps a non-working spouse. Maybe that's important to you. There's some techniques that are available to you that if you wait, they are some different ways of taking Social Security and working later. Maybe you'd want to work part-time. I don't know. But the long story short is this. Anonymous says, my retirement assets are more than enough that should I live past 78, I won't need the extra money that comes with delaying Social Security. Got a small pension when I hit 65. And so what do you think? So the answer to this is, if you have longevity in your genes, then I always say wait. If you've got plenty of money to float it, to wait, then why not wait? Unless, again, if you have all these assets, I'm not sure what the benefit is of taking the money early, except that you have the money, but you already have money. You didn't talk at all about a spouse, so that would weigh into this. So long story short, what I would say is this. For everyone listening, the most important aspect of Social Security is, do you need the money, right? The next important aspect of Social Security is, do you have longevity, right? Do you have, because if you're chronically ill, you're going to take it early, right? And then it is certainly a race against the clock. But if you have assets, there's very few ways to get an 8% guaranteed return, which is what you get by delaying your Social Security until your full retirement age. And then, of course, to delay it to age 70 is really the bonanza. So does it really matter if you have tons of money? Probably not. Probably not. You can probably just take the money and have access to it. But if you don't really care and you don't want to create income right now, you can wait. So that's something to consider. Also, if you're thinking about converting an IRA into a Roth IRA, having that income will hurt you. So I need to know a little bit more about you, Anonymous, in order to make a better determination specifically. But at the very least, I would say, I think if you're in a great situation where you have tons of money, it usually doesn't matter. But that to me is the argument for waiting until your full retirement age, because you don't have any pressure on you. Am I missing anything with that one, Mark? Yeah, and listen, he's a Peloton guy. He's not got crappy health. And listen, Anonymous, should we start a Jill on Money Peloton hashtag? That's the big question that we need to ask you. I took a great class yesterday, Mark, with Dennis, a 45-minute power zone ride. It killed me. It was 2 minutes in zone 5, 5 minutes in zone 2. It was killer, that zone 5. Just killer. Okay, enough with our Peloton talk. You're listening to Jill on Money. If you have a financial question, send us an email, just like Anonymous. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. We'll be right back.
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, she's all over the place. Go to JillOnMoney.com to find it all. Now back to the show with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and this is the program that takes the mystery out of your financial life. If you want to get in touch with us, send us an email, askjill@jillonmoney.com. But you can also, and always, just hop onto the website, jillonmoney.com. You can read stuff that I've written. You can listen to old shows. You can watch TV segments. You can check out the resource page. I like that resource page. A lot of good info there. And don't forget, while you're on the site, sign up for our free weekly newsletter. Okay. Now, Bruno writes that lives in California. He and his wife are 33 years old. They've got 2 kids, 3 and 8 months. They make a combined annual gross salary $200,000, and they have expenses of about $6,000 per month. The only debt is a $30,000 auto loan. Wow. Okay, here's what they got. They've got some money in cash and checking and some money in a high yield savings account. About 120 grand between the two. Some stocks, a traditional IRA, 123 grand, a Roth IRA, 43 grand, a traditional 401k, a little bit of money, and a couple of 529 plans. Okay, very good. We are currently each contributing the max to our respective Roth IRA accounts. So we weren't contributing anything to our traditional IRA account, which was a rollover from a previous employer. I was looking at the phase out range. So if you make, as a couple, more than $198,000 this year, you're phased out. So you have to, so just FYI, you've got to use enough of that 401k, that traditional 401k, to get you under $198,000. Okay? That's important. Because otherwise you're going to get whacked for using a Roth when you shouldn't. Okay, here are the questions. Bruno says, I know you don't like 100% allocation in stocks. I've got 100% of my Vanguard traditional IRA in the stock market because it's more diversified and more safe. If you're fine with 100%, that's fine. But don't fool yourself. It's not diversified. It's not safe. It's a very risky investment to be 100% in stocks. Okay? You've got a total stock market index. It's risky. If you are comfortable with that, then go for it. But otherwise, don't fool yourself. You should add a bond fund if you are uncomfortable with it. Okay? Question, am I right? Are we on the right track for retirement by age 65? Maybe earlier. Should we be doing anything differently? No pensions at retirement, just Social Security, hopefully. We're actually only contributing 2% of our gross salary to a work traditional 401k. We're trying to save up to purchase a $500,000 to $600,000 house. Thank you, and thank Mark for your time and all that you guys do. Well, I mean, look, you're 33, so you got 30 years. Go out and run these numbers for yourselves, all right? You've got money at Betterment, you've got money at Vanguard, and you've got money at Fidelity, and you've got money at Wealthfront. Boy, you've spread it around. So what I would do is I would use their calculators, and I would see if you are on track. The more you put away, the better it will be. I probably would be kind of giving short shrift to your 529 plans. I wouldn't be doing that until I felt maxed out for retirement. And maxed out is not $6,000 each. You know, do you have a Roth option at work for your 401k? That might be something to consider, but I think you got to put more money to work. I have a sense, I can't run the numbers right this second, but I don't know about you, Mark, but I think they're on track to like accumulate good money, but I think they should be putting more money into retirement. What do you think? No, I mean, 2% plus they're doing $6,000 each for their Roths. So I think they're going to have to, this is what I think. You're both working and you want to buy a house. I think, sure, you get to buy the house. Oh, I see. That's probably why they have all that money in the high yield savings for house down payment. You shouldn't be investing in stocks. Just blow those out, move on. And I think you're going to have to be putting closer to the limit into retirement plan contributions. $19,500 each of you can do. That's really what I'd be shooting for. And I would do that before I put money into stocks. And I would be doing that, again, yes, I think it's great to put into your Roth, but you should be putting more money into your retirement accounts. Okay, this is from our sponsor, Facet Wealth. Brent Weiss says, it's the 1% challenge. Can you put an additional 1% per quarter into your 401k accounts. That's what we're going to put out there for you. Can you do that? 1% per quarter. We're going to get you there. How about that? I like that, Mark. It's the 1% challenge, the Jill on Money / Facet Wealth 1% challenge. Can you put 1% additional contribution into each of your 401ks every quarter? Forget about the 529 plans. Don't do those. And whatever money you've made in your stock trading accounts, sell that and pay down some of that auto loan unless it's 0%. And you are trying to get to a maximum. You would love to be able to say, Dear Jill, I put away $19,500 in my retirement plan and additionally put another $6,000 in my Roth. That's where you'd love to get to. That's your goal. Everything else is superfluous. I don't know if they'll be able to do that, but hey, we can be aspirational. We'll see if that's achievable. Give it a whirl, okay? Very good. Do you want a 1% challenge? Why don't you give us a holler? Our email address, askjill@jillonmoney.com. Askjill@jillonmoney.com. What can you do 1% better in some area of your financial life? What is it for you? What could be 1% better? That's what we ask. If you want the answer to that or you want help with that, just send us an email. AskJill@jillonmoney.com. AskJill@jillonmoney.com. We'll be right back. You're back. It's Jill on Money. And before we call it quits for the day, we want to remind you, we check our email account every single day. When I say we, I don't do anything. Mark does everything. I'm useless, essentially. I'm like the answer machine. You stick a little quarter in and out comes the answer. Mark does all the hard work. He winds me up. That's how it works here at Jill on Money. Send us your question. Ask Jill@jillonmoney.com. Okay, Paul writes, I'm comfortable managing my investments, but I could use some advice on other money decisions. Examples, when to take Social Security, whether to buy long-term care insurance. Paying a percentage of my portfolio every year seems expensive when I don't need investment advice. Are there advisors that can be hired for financial advice without paying for unneeded investment advice? If so, how can I find a good, reliable one? Thank you. All right. Love this question, by the way. This is an academic person, I can tell. Here's the deal. You can pay for financial advice sometimes by the hour. You can just go to NAPFA, National Association of Personal Financial Advisors, napfa.org. Those folks are people who will give you financial advice for a fee. You can look for people on the CFP board website, letsmakeaplan.org, and you would want to find people who are just doing financial advice. The AICPA, the American Institute of CPAs, they've got folks there. Our sponsor, Facet Wealth, they do this as well. And you can do some of your research and, of course, go to our website. On our website, we have the resource section. You can find the 13 questions to ask a financial advisor. But you know what you need. So what I think you need is a flat fee or by the hour financial planning arrangement. So give that a whirl. Lots of options for you. Okay, gang, that is the show. Thank you so much for listening. And just, it is a terrible time. Mark and I were just talking about how we are hopeful that our first big holiday where things are normal is Thanksgiving. Long way to go between now and then. So let's be careful. Here at Jill on Money, our music is composed by Joel Goodman. Mark Talercio is our executive producer. And we want to remind everyone to wash your hands, to wear your masks, to maintain your physical distancing, and to put your hands metaphorically on someone's back. We know that that will make you feel better, and it will make someone else feel better too. Isn't that nice? So do that. Any questions, you can always send us an email, askjill@jillonmoney.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.